Good morning, garden friends. I'm standing here in the shade of the carport, getting ready to get a quick project done, what I hope is a quick project done. The seedlings I'm going to be planting have to stay cool and in the shade. Yesterday, I picked up an order of seedlings from the NH State Forest Nursery. Now, in New Hampshire, I'm not sure if this is true with other states, but in New Hampshire, our Forest Service, New Hampshire Forest Service, offers a seedling program to anybody that wants to buy them of native and conservation important seedlings of trees and shrubs for really, really cheap prices, like 10 trees for 20 bucks as an example. And it's a great way to get a lot of stock of trees and shrubs that are native or beneficial to wildlife or useful for conservation along stream banks and the like at really cheap prices. The catch, of course, is that these are 1 or 2 year old seedlings that are very, very small, and it's going to take a while for them to get up to appreciable size. But if you're thinking long term, and even in my mid-50s, I'm still thinking long term, this is a great way to get a huge amount of seedlings at cheap prices to eventually build, your ecosystem on your property. So today I've got 5 different types of seedlings that I'm going to be potting up, only because where we want to put them is not ready yet. Which seems to be typical for me. My eyes are bigger than my ability to plant. And so in the fall, or in the winter, when these seedling orders are open, I'm like, oh, I want this and I want that. And then when they show up, I realize, oh yeah, I still have some work to do. So a temporary fix is I just pot them up and I keep them watered. And when I get the area ready, then I can plant them for real. So let me show you what I've got. The seedlings come wrapped in these little paper packets, and they're pre-packaged. So when you go to pick them up, they just pull these packets off the shelf. But for my order this year, and it varies year to year, I ordered 10 red osier dogwoods, 10 crab apples, 10 buttonbush, 10 hawthorn, and 10 ninebark. And I will put a link to the New Hampshire State Forest Nursery at the bottom of this video in the description, so you can go and look and see what these plants are and why they're important to the local flora and fauna ecosystem of New Hampshire. So I'm going to take these packages and bring them over to the side of the edge of our property, where we have a few dirt piles, soil piles of compost enriched soil that we keep on hand. And I'm going to pot these up right now. Come on, Zeus. All right, so here we are at the dirt pile. This is a mixture of topsoil and compost that I got from a local soil garden place. And I've got my trusty wagon, which is going to serve as my potting table. And I've also got a couple of buckets of water. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpackage the seedlings and put them in the buckets of water to hydrate them and keep them cool while I'm potting up. So the first one I'm going to start with are the crab apples. Just got to cut the package open. And look, they are truly tiny. But hopefully, you know, in 10 years, these will be trees that will be producing crab apples for wildlife and have flowers for the bees. So I'm going to put them in the bucket and let them sit for a little bit. While they're soaking, I'm going to open up another package and put it in the other bucket so that they'll be soaking while I'm planting these up. All right, so it's been a few minutes and the crab apples have been soaking for a little bit. I also opened up a package of 9-bark seedlings, and you can see these are significantly bigger. It is funny, the difference in the seedling sizes. But anyway, so these are going to soak in this bucket while I'm potting these crab apples up. I have piles of plastic pots from, you know, my plant addiction. They just get stacked up in the barn, and this is the perfect opportunity to use them. So I'm going to go with the smaller pots for these crab apples, and I'm just going to set up 10 pots in my cart here and work from here to fill up the pots and plant them, plant the seedlings. All right, so I've potted up the crab apples into smaller pots here, and I'm in the process of potting up the 9-barks into much bigger pots because, as you can see, the root systems are quite a bit larger. These aren't going to stay in their pots for very long, so you know, I'm not worried that these roots are a little bit crowded. I just want to keep them growing and moist and happy until I can get them into their proper ground situation. So I'm just going to tuck the roots in here and then pile some dirt on top. So get a little bit more. Roots in here. And I want to make sure this dirt is firmly packed around the roots. And then the base of the stems here is right about here. I don't want to plant it too deep. Maybe a little bit more dirt. That's good. All right, on to the next one. So I filled up my first wagon load with pots. I've got all the crab apples potted up and then about half of the 9-barks. And so I'm going to drag this over to the greenhouse pad where I'll water it. And that's where these guys will live for the duration until I can prepare the bed. So let's go take a walk over to the greenhouse. Okay, so I'm going to put them here for now because I'm going to be working on finishing up this greenhouse pad. Like I'd mentioned in a previous video, we've got some weed mat going down and some planters and all that. And I don't want to put these there and then have to move them again. But eventually, plantings like this will end up staged on this greenhouse pad for future plantings. But for now, they'll live here. I'm going to go back and, whew, hauling that wagon was hard work. I'm going to go back and finish up the rest of the seedlings, get those potted up and brought over, and then I'll get everybody watered and settled in. Well, I've finished potting up all of the seedlings and I've given them a good water. I'm going to come back in a little bit and water them again. I want to make sure that the soil is completely wet all the way through. The pile that I was using was a bit dry because it had been tarped all winter. So I want to make sure the roots of these young seedlings are completely wet in the soil before the day goes by. So now I've got, what, 50 seedlings here all potted up. Where am I going to plant these? Let me show you. I'm going to put them up behind the barn in the native shrub border that we're building behind the rock wall. It's not a garden I've really talked about yet because it's still being developed. And it's been at this point, 3-year project that we've worked on in bits and pieces. And this year, I swear I'm going to get the rock wall done and planted the way I'd hoped to. But that's further down the wish list for the year. But anyway, so this collection of plants is going up there. Let's take a walk up there and see what we have so far. When we built this barn, the pad for the foundation was dug out of a slight hill, and as you can see, the hill continues up behind it pretty steeply. So we had to carve out an area here that was level, which left quite a steep slope. So 3 years ago, I think it is now, I had some dear friends that came over with an excavator, and they stacked probably the bottom half of this rock wall with all the big boulders that we couldn't handle with our little tractor. And then over the last 2 years, we've added to the wall to try to finish it off. And it's almost there. It's another couple of feet, especially in this section here, where we have to add more rocks. In the meantime, while we were working on that, I got a load of shrubs in from the State Tree Nursery, and I planted them in a berm back here. Now, it's not much to look at other than the daffodils that have popped up that I planted last year, because none of these shrubs have leafed out yet. It's still mid-April and everything is pretty dormant at this point. Although I see a little bit of life here in this one. But pretty soon we'll see leaves on all of these. I'll put a list on the screen of what these are. Actually, I'll put the planting diagram that I made on the screen and to show you what's in here. But it goes the entire length of the wall. So this latest batch of seedlings that I just potted up, let me back up here. We are going to widen this border by probably another 10 feet. And it's going to curve around all the way to the end here and around the corner. and down to where we drive the tractor, the little road behind the house here. So this is all going to be covered with cardboard and compost and soil, and then all of the shrubs, the crab apples, the 9-barks, button bushes, all that. It's all going to go in here. And eventually this is all going to knit together in one big, I hope, one big wall of native shrubs that have flowers and berries and all sorts of good things for pollinators and birds and animals. And unfortunately, we are also going to have to probably fence it off from the deer. We have a pretty big deer herd here. But we'll do that once everything is planted. They do seem to like the dogwoods. They seem to munch on those pretty well. So yeah, this is where they're going to go. And I hope I'll come back here in a couple of months and show you this border all leafed out and hopefully the rock wall completed. The one thing I also forgot to tell you about this rock wall is I plan to plant in the pockets between the rocks. And that's going to be an ongoing project. But I will fill certain pockets of this wall with soil and plant, dry, sun-tolerant plants like succulents, hens and chicks, and sedums. I've got some creeping phlox already started at the top of the wall over on that far side to the left, but things that can take the beating sun, because this is in full sun all day long. The western end here gets a little bit of shade toward the afternoon, but for the most part it is in hot blazing sun. So I think this will be really pretty, in a few years once I've planted a bunch of the pockets and things have had a chance to spread. It'll be, I hope, really, really beautiful. Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you for joining me. I hope at the very least it maybe inspired you to go check out your own state forest nursery if you have one and see if they have seedlings for sale. It's a great way to expand the shrubs and trees that you can plant around your property to encourage wildlife and help the general ecosystem, pollinators and animals and birds. So yeah, thanks again for joining me and stay tuned. There will be more videos coming soon and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.